Welcome to the Minneapolis Foundation's recording about our 2016 competitive grant round. We appreciate your interest in our organization and our grant making, and we feel it's a privilege here at the Minneapolis Foundation to be able to connect people, charitable resources, and ideas to unite behind common goals and spark positive change in our community and beyond. This is the agenda for today's recording. I'll start by introducing some of my colleagues who are here with me, and then we'll walk through some of the other key contacts on our community impact team, the approach we take to community impact, our 2016 application process and timeline, our 3 focus areas for the competitive grant making, and the related key drivers. Then we'll move into some of the questions around eligibility and the criteria that we use to select applications that we want to move forward with funding with in our process, some tips, and also some tips for completing our letter of inquiry and application. Then we'll end the process or end this program today with some of our frequently asked questions. So before we move on, I want to again introduce my 2 colleagues.
Hi, I'm Dee Courtney. I'm the Administrative Assistant in the Community Impact Department. Feel free to give me a call with any questions you have about this webinar or anything else about the grant round.
I'm Andrea Porter. I'm the Grants Administrator for Community Impact.
So you just met Andrea Porter and Deanna Courtney, and their contact information is available here. I will also briefly walk you through some of our other key staff members. We have Joanne Stately, who directs our Economic Vitality grant making and strategy, Catherine Gray, who directs our Civic Engagement strategy and grant making, Jesse Ross, our Policy Associate and Ron McKinley Philanthropy Fellow. Again, myself, Patrice Relaford, I direct our Education grant making and strategy. And then our department is led by Luz Maria Frias, our Vice President of Community Impact. These 4 documents are really the key things that I would ask applicants to review prior to participating in our annual grant round. Our competitive grant making is grounded in a strategic plan that our board adopted in 2009 that is focused on racial, social, and economic equity as achieved through our 3 focus areas: economic vitality, education, and civic engagement. Our board extended that strategic plan through 2020 and back in 2012, and the outcomes that we're seeking with our competitive grant making are really tied into our One Minneapolis report. One Minneapolis is a groundbreaking report that we commissioned with broader research initially in 2011, and we've done updates to it in 2012 and 2013, and it looks at some of the key indicators of quality of life for citizens in our city. And so it's looking at issues like educational attainment, participation in the workforce, and also participation in our democracy. And with this document, we found that there were deep racial disparities in our community. The other documents on the right side of your screen are our strategic framework and grant guidelines. The strategic framework, again, dates back to 2009, but our guidelines, we update those annually, and we made slight tweaks to them, and that's on our website. And later in this presentation, I'll show you links in terms of how to get directly to those documents on our website. So let's move into more of the brass tacks. Again, we have 3 focus areas: civic engagement, economic vitality, and education. And last year we had the privilege of awarding 70 to 80 grants through this application process. The average size for those grants range between $50,000 and $60,000, and we distributed right around $5 million last year. So, this is the word, one. We accept one LOI per organization. And we need you to select the focus area that you're going to apply under. Andrea and Dee, do you have any other feedback on the importance of one in this process, or any other thoughts for applicants?
Nope, other than if there's any confusion or question about where you would fall, or if you don't know what key driver or area, just give us a call, and the directors would be happy to talk that over with you and help you understand what would be the best fit, and the documents that Patrice just went over, whether it be the strategic framework or the grant guidelines, are great places to look to help get clarity about that.
Thank you so much, Dee. So next we'll move into an overview of our application process and the timeline. So beginning in June, we accept letters of inquiry from our applicants through our online system. The system closes at exactly 4:30 p.m. on June 27th, and we do not accept late LOIs. Next, we move into inviting applicants who submitted an LOI to submit a full proposal. Then they'll have the entire month of August to work on their full application. And again, we have a hard deadline here of August 29th at 4:30 p.m. And again, we don't accept late applications either, and our system will lock on the date and time stated. So in the late summer and fall, we have the pleasure here of contacting applicants to discuss site visits with our community impact directors. So that would be myself, Joanne Stately, and Catherine Gray. And then at the end of the year, we have the pleasure of notifying applicants of whether or not their program, organization, or project will be funded. We at the Minneapolis Foundation, with our competitive grant round, we do two types of support: general operating and project. And if you have any questions about which of those you would like to pursue, again, please reach out to one of the three directors. And our application process has 5 phases, so I want to reiterate that. Applicants are asked to submit a letter of inquiry, an application, and then our team does a review of those documents, due diligence, and then site visits. Then we move into staff review and discussions with our board. And then if your organization, so if an applicant is selected to be a grantee, we ask organizations to participate in an annual review, which is a final report about their activities that we funded. So we'll start with our civic engagement focus area. I'll just walk you through civic engagement in terms of our vision and goals for this area, and we'll talk a little bit about the key drivers. So with civic engagement, our goal is to foster a community where everyone is encouraged and motivated to participate in the democratic process and public decision-making. We believe all people in Minneapolis should have influence over the decisions and issues that affect their lives. We believe our city is stronger through having diverse leadership that represents our population, and that this will advance equity across various sectors. We also think all communities should have the tools, capacity, and relationships to influence public policy. And then we think just participation, again, in our democracy is vital and that it needs to be inclusive. So to succeed, we have 3 key drivers with this area that we'll be focusing on during the competitive grant round. We want to support work that increases the number of people of color who vote. We want to strengthen leadership development and organizing in diverse communities. And we want to support efforts for people to advocate for policies that advance racial equity and civic participation, economic vitality, and education. So we want to support policies across those areas that advance equity. So let's move into the key drivers, and we'll have them all. So here, again, with the civic engagement, the first key driver to increase the number of people of color who vote. Some of the things that we're funding here are community organizing, efforts to educate disenfranchised individuals about voter eligibility in elections, community-based initiatives to educate individuals about equity issues that are pertinent during upcoming elections. The next one is removing systemic barriers to voting. So with this, we're supporting research and advocacy to reduce those barriers. Again, organizing. So you'll see organizing as a thread that we're supporting throughout the civic engagement focus area. And then, again, leadership. Leadership is key. Leadership, advocacy, and organizing to fostering the inclusion and participation of diverse communities. So we've also done some work to support technical assistance and capacity building in this area. And again, we want to lift up those community-based organizations that are organizing, advocating, or developing leaders to advance equitable public policies. So next we'll move into education. So with education, it may sound cliche, but when Whitney Houston said it back in the 80s, it was true, and it's still true today. Children and youth are our future. So here at the Minneapolis Foundation, we're investing in systems and programs that put all children on track to compete in a global economy, participate in civic life, and pursue their dreams. So that's where it all starts for us with education. So what does that mean? We think about success in education along these lines. We think all students should attend high-performing schools. We think all students should only have excellent teachers. We think parents should be full partners in their students' education, and that students should have opportunities to explore and develop their interests. And then we also want to support educational leaders who seek to bring innovative ideas into education in pursuit of academic excellence. So we'll move into the main key drivers with this area. So we have our first key driver under education is increasing access to high-quality early childhood education. So with education, we're really working from E to 12, so across the early learning and the K-12 space. And with early learning, we really want to promote access to high-quality early learning programs that use meaningful quality systems, grading systems, that enable parents to select high-quality programs. We also want to support early learning programs that implement research-based strategies that have been shown to dramatically improve kindergarten readiness for low-income and underserved children. So again, we talked about one Minneapolis. How does this connect back? Our city has some vast disparities, and we've seen, particularly with early learning, disparities between white children and students of color in how prepared they are to enter kindergarten ready to succeed. Our next focus area is, our next key driver under this focus area is to increase the number of great schools serving low-income students of color. So what are we funding there? We're looking at schools that use evidence-based practices and innovative approaches that have been shown to reduce the educational opportunity gap and disparities in student achievement based on race. We're also supporting work that ensures high-quality educational delivery. So that means what are programs that are doing things, what are those programs that are doing things that build up students' assets and their resilience and help them to achieve academic success. Because with this, the goal is that we want all students and students of color and low-income students to be enrolled at high-quality schools that, again, put them on track for success in life. So teachers and school leaders, that's the focus of our next key driver. We really want to strengthen the pipelines that bring talented people into our classrooms. So with this, we're supporting efforts to build and increase the capacity of those pipelines and their ability to attract and train talented, diverse educators and educational leaders who have the mindset and the skills to lead all students to academic and professional success. Because we want students to have effective teachers and school leaders who are leading and in the classrooms that these students are in every day. Our next key driver with this one, with the education focus area, is about parent engagement and also community engagement. We want to position parents and concerned individuals in our community to advocate for educational equity and excellence. So with this, we're empowering parents, with this key driver, we're empowering parents to advocate on behalf of their children and students to advocate for themselves to advance educational equity and excellence. We're also supporting research to influence policy and systemic improvements in education. And also, we want to support efforts to hold leaders accountable for effective implementation and enforcement of new and existing policies that advance equity. So our third key driver, our third focus area, is economic vitality. So with economic vitality, we seek to have an inclusive workforce that reflects the changing demographics, that fosters innovation and entrepreneurship, and also that we want to create stable jobs. We want to help organizations that are working to create stable, well-paying jobs. We think this is critical to the long-term vitality of our economy here in Minneapolis. So I'll walk you through briefly the 4 key drivers under this focus area. So first, we want to strengthen delivery of financial and technical assistance to minority-owned businesses. So with this one, we're funding community-based networks that provide technical assistance, establish business incubators, and expand alternative financing options. We also want to advocate for improved policies and public sector programs that impact wealth creation. And so with this focus area, we're funding research and advocacy to encourage policy and systemic improvements in workforce development, minority entrepreneurship, and wealth creation.
Sorry, guys, the technical difficulties.
Sorry, I got it a little bit out of order with the slides. So, in workforce, we also want to support efforts to increase workforce preparedness. So this is where we're working with organizations that are implementing new career pathways to help people access living wage jobs that are going to meet the future workforce needs of our region and support and allow the chronically unemployed and underemployed, which this includes people from communities of color and immigrants, to have access to those living wage jobs. We also, under this key driver, want to support the participation of the chronically and underemployed in current and next generation jobs. And then also with this key driver, we want to support initiatives that increase the success in post-secondary training and career laddering opportunities for people from underrepresented communities of color. So again, with this key driver, we're focused on career pathways that help position people from underrepresented communities to be employed in living wage jobs. We also want to help the chronically and underemployed access current and next generation jobs. And then we want to focus on increasing the success of people from these communities in post-secondary training and career laddering opportunities. The final key driver under economic vitality, so the fourth one, is building community wealth. So we want to support comprehensive projects that link job creation, new business development, minority entrepreneurship, and wealth creation. So with this, some of the results include: how do we help low-income families use and establish credit? Also, how do we help individuals and families have access to workforce training and employment that's going to help stabilize their lives? All of these key drivers and for the three focus areas that I've gone over are on pages 4 through 9 of the 2016 guidelines. I want to take a second to pause and ask my colleagues if they have any thoughts on the key drivers and some of the work that we funded in these three areas in recent years. So the list of our grantees, current grantees, I would encourage you to look on our website under each key driver and sort of look at some of the projects that we funded in recent years to get an idea of how this looks. So you'll notice some of those names. You'll notice some of the issues. You'll know some of those names if you're familiar with Minneapolis and some of the projects that they've been engaged in recent years. So, for example, with economic vitality, we in recent years have supported organizations that have helped increase access by minority-owned contractors to working on the stadium project for the U.S. Bank Stadium for the Minnesota Vikings. And so that's an example of some of the work in economic vitality. And again, we have more information about some of our recent grantees on the website, and I would encourage you to look at that. So next we're going to move into eligibility for our grant round, the criteria we use to select applicants that we want to fund, and then also some tips related to our online application process. So here at the Minneapolis Foundation, we are seeking to fund tax-exempt nonprofit organizations, and this could include organizations that have a fiscal sponsor that is a tax-exempt nonprofit. We also want to encourage applicants who've been denied funding within the past year to contact the Director of Impact Strategy prior to applying to confirm their eligibility. I also mentioned before that as part of our phases of our grant process that we have annual review, we ask any previously funded organizations to meet all reporting requirements before applying again. So if you're a previously funded organization and you have not turned in some of those reports, you probably heard from myself, one of the other directors, or Andrea Porter, our grants administrator. So if you think you have an outstanding report, I would encourage you to contact one of the directors or Andrea prior to applying, because again, organizations that have not met this requirement will not be eligible for funding. Again, you see, we're reiterating right here that it's one grant at a time. And then our work is through the competitive grant round, we're focusing on organizations that are primarily serving the people of Minneapolis. We understand that work crosses boundaries, but our commitment with the competitive grant resources is to the people and the city of Minneapolis. So again, we talked earlier about some of those key documents that I would encourage grantees to look at. So when you go to page 11 of our 2016 guidelines, we talk about our key criteria and how we assess applicants. So with this is our equity framework. We also value collaboration because we realize that some of the work that we're supporting, we know this isn't short-term work. It's longer-term work, and we believe a variety of organizations should work together on these issues because they're complex, multidisciplinary problems that are going to require a variety of approaches, and that's often beyond the capacity of a single organization. We also really want to focus on organizations with a track record of collaboration with agencies that have a track record and history of meeting community needs. We're also looking at the financial and programmatic capacity of the organizations that we fund. Successful applicants will show evidence that they are stable, that they have a solid financial and program management team, a strong balance sheet, and program plans that give us confidence that their work will be sustained beyond the foundation's investment. So we understand, and we hope applicants understand, that we're not a long-term funder. We really want to help organizations build their capacity through this grant making to the extent possible. And so we want to work with organizations that, again, have solid financial management, programmatic plans, and that they're able to sustain this work beyond our grant making. So leadership. Leadership is key. We want to support applicants that have a strong board and executive leadership that's representative of the communities they serve, and that board we're also wanting to work with organizations where the board is knowledgeable about the community and the field they operate in. So again, that relates to those values of collaboration, financial and programmatic capacity, and equity. We also want to focus on measurable results. We really place a high priority on organizations that can articulate their goals, have a clear path and plan to achieving results, and that have the ability to track their outcomes and their impacts on the people and the communities their organization serves. So, again, equity is at the heart of our criteria, but we really, with our limited competitive grant making, we want to focus on work that unlocks economic, educational, and civic equity, and that focuses on underserved residents and neighborhood. So equity, collaboration, financial and programmatic capacity, leadership, and measurable results. More information, again, about our key criteria for the competitive grant making is available on page 11 of the 2016 grant guidelines. So some tips for drafting your LOI. So I have the pleasure of being a former applicant and grantee for the Minneapolis Foundation, and I recognize that our LOI, it really requires you to understand your work and be able to provide details in a concise yet thorough manner. We also want applicants to focus on creating a compelling narrative, and then think about how you demonstrate the connection between your work and the criteria that I discussed in the previous slide. So how does your work advance equity? How are you collaborating? How is your leadership situated and prepared to move your organization into the future and be successful at the work that you set out to do? If you have any questions as you draft your LOI, again, I want to encourage you to reach out to the Director of Impact Strategy for the focus area that you're applying under. We don't want fluff. That is not compelling. I'd rather have something that was concise and meaningful and actually said something than pages and pages of fluff. And you're going to see that across all of our LOIs and applications.
While the LOI itself does not open until June 1st, Word documents are available on our website already, so you can check those out and start thinking about what you'd like to write, or even start drafts of them in the Word document, and then you could cut and paste your responses into a real LOI once they open through our website on June 1st. So those are available, like I said, now through the MinneapolisFoundation.org through the How to Apply page of the website.
Thank you, Dee. That's so important. Please go and look at those documents prior to applying and beginning our online application process. So, exclusions. We do not fund individuals. We do not do capital. We do not fund activities outside of Minnesota. We do not fund direct religious activities. We do not fund conferences and events through our competitive grant making. We also, again, remember we talked about having a strong financial and programmatic capacity. We do not fund financial deficits. We also do not fund memberships. As you can see, there's a few things that we don't fund. In the interest of time, I want to encourage you to look at the full list of exclusions on page 12 of the 2016 grant guidelines. Look at page 12. If you have any questions about this, again, contact one of our Directors of Impact Strategy. So that's myself, Patrice Rutherford, Joanne Stately, or Catherine Gray. So now we get to the fun part, the online application system. So no rushing to put anything in the mail. You can apply for our process all from your office if you have an internet connection and access to the web. So for this portion, I'm going to turn it over to Andrea Porter, our grants administrator. And she's going to talk a little bit about how to access our online application system and discuss some of the frequent issues that applicants encounter when they're accessing our system. And then Andrea will also reiterate her contact information because, again, Andrea is our extraordinary grant administrator who can help you navigate our online application portal.
Thank you, Patrice. Hello, everyone. For logging into the online application portal, you're going to do this by going to the front page of our website and clicking on the login button up there on the left, on the right, upper right-hand corner, and you should see the login page. You want to apply for a community grant online, and you will click on login there to log into the actual portal. If you do not have a login or a password yet with us, this is also where you will register your organization to be able to get into our system. When you have successfully logged in, you should see this bright green page that says Grantee Dashboard. If you do not see this, then your login and password are not working, and you need to contact me or do a login or a password reset. You will select the appropriate letter of inquiry from under the Grantee Dashboard. You can see that they're listed under there. The Community Impact LOI for Economic Vitality, Civic Engagement, and Education. Please, please, we cannot say this enough, do not wait until the last minute to even attempt to log in with your username and password. I cannot guarantee that if you call me at 3:30 on the closing day that I am going to be able to get back to you with a login and password. So please do this as soon as you can to at least make sure that your login or username and passwords are working and that you can successfully log into the system as soon as you can do that.
And Andrea, you can start and stop an application and save it, can't you?
Absolutely. You can start an application and resume it later at any time. There used to be an issue where the system would kick you out after 30 minutes and not save your work, and that does not happen anymore. Anything you type in, when you save it and resume later, or even if it does time out, it saves your information now. So that's not a worry anymore. Thank you, Deanna.
And I think it's every year there's someone who tries to complete their application after 4:30 and leaves Andrea a voicemail of distress. Do not be one of those people who's leaving Andrea a voicemail of distress on June 27th or on August 29th, like if you move forward in our application process. Do not wait till the last minute. And this actually happens, so don't let it happen to you.
The best thing to do is to log in like right away, June 1st, make sure your login and password work, and then work on your application or your LOI throughout, early June. Save your work as you go, and then get that submitted, as early as you can, but definitely before 4:30 on June 27th.
Thanks, ladies.
Absolutely.
So for the next portion, we're going to move into some of the frequently asked questions, and Deanna and I will go through some of them. But before, again, we just want to make sure you have Andrea's contact information is right here. If you have any questions or issues or trouble with our online application portal. Andrea Porter, number is right there, email address is right there. She's a very responsive grant administrator who is extremely good at her job.
Thank you, Patrice.
You're welcome. I used to be a grantee, and she was awesome to me, so I'm always going to plug Andrea. She's the best person on our team. She's awesome. So, frequently asked questions. How do I know if my organization will be competitive in the LOI or application process? So, competitive is the key word in here, people. We really focus on nonprofits that share our core values and where the programs are highly aligned with the key drivers identified in each of our 3 focus areas. So, while reviewing LOIs and applications, Catherine, Joanne, and myself, we look for alignment with the equity framework, willingness to collaborate, financial stability, programmatic capacity, organizational leadership, and a strong organizational leadership is what I mean by that, and the ability to demonstrate a measurable impact. We can all say we're going to do something, but if we actually don't have the capacity or the track record of doing it, or at least doing something similar that's related, that's not really going to be a priority for what we fund here at the Minneapolis Foundation. And that doesn't mean that we don't think there's a lot of great work going on out there. We just have to be strategic with these resources. And we want to have the highest impact possible within our grant-making capacity. So, how soon after submitting an LOI or application will my organization receive notification from the foundation?
So we've got a really great timeline graphic on the website, again at minneapolisfoundation.org under the How to Apply page. If you want to check that out, we'll give you some key dates. But the two primary dates to keep in mind are listed here. LOI notifications will be on or about July 27th, and the final award notifications for applicants that will become grantees will be on or about December 23rd.
So the next frequently asked question that we receive is, does my organization have to submit an LOI, or can I just skip to the full application?
Yes, you must submit an LOI. There's no way around that. That is the opening into the application process, and that is how your organization gets into the system. So the answer is yes.
So with this next question, we get a lot of interest in our donor-advised funds here at the Minneapolis Foundation. So as a community foundation, you know that in addition to stewarding resources through our competitive grant round, we're also a resource for individual and family philanthropists in our community. Here's the thing about that. We do not accept applications for funding to those funds. That's not how it works. So we're not accepting requests for support from those funds. Those are donor-advised funds that are directed through those individual philanthropists.
My organization's mission and activities align with more than one focus area or key driver identified by the Minneapolis Foundation. What should I do? I kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, that sometimes, we definitely understand that organizations do a lot of different work and complex work, and that this may be confusing, and if that is the case, certainly give us a call and we can help you sort that out and help identify what the best focus area, what the best key driver would be, and figure out where you should be applying and what the best fit would be. So certainly give us a call if this is a concern for you.
The next question that we often get, can I send you this? Can I send you that? No. We do not accept supplemental materials electronically or through the mail. Don't send your annual report. No. So, again, we're going to ask you to thoroughly complete every section of that LOI and application, and we want to use that as our way to evaluate your request. Now, we do, with our application, I believe, Andrea, right, have some supplemental, documents that we ask you to upload, but those aren't supplemental documents. They're essential. So that's like your financial information. In our great schools area, we're going to ask you to submit some data about student achievement. So those things, again, we don't want fluff. Please upload what we ask you to upload at the LOI or application phase, and that is what you will use to assess your organization's work. Now, this next question about time and completing, like how much time organizations need to complete the LOI and application, I'm going to say it's a bit subjective, and it's going to vary for each organization. So myself, again, having secured funding from the Minneapolis Foundation in the past when I was in your position, I'm going to give you some advice based on that. Again, as Deanna mentioned, take the time to preview our LOI documents and application when they're available online. Those documents will be there several weeks in advance of the June and August deadlines. Next, give yourself time after previewing those documents to gather the data and related information you will need. So I worked at a nonprofit organization. I took the time to get the information that I needed from the specific program directors to complete the LOI, and I did that a few weeks in advance of the deadline. So again, don't be waiting until the last minute to get the information you need to submit these documents. And then give yourself at least, I would say, 2 to 4 hours to draft it in Word, again, using the LOI or application document that is available on our website. And then from there, use that as the basis to submit your work online using our online application portal. This is the method that I recommend. You are welcome to do it your way. This is a way that I think is going to set you up for success and to not feel like you're rushed and underprepared on June 26th. And then let's move into our last frequently asked question.
Can my organization submit an LOI or grant application through email or postal mail? And the answer is no. We only accept applications through our online system, the portal, which Andrea showed slides about, and that you can find again at minneapolisfoundation.org in that login button in the upper right-hand corner, and you will need a login and password. If you don't already have one of those, make sure you get that right away. June 1st is the best day to do that.
Or before.
Oh, okay.
I can help you anytime.
Yeah, okay.
Andrea works here now. It's available
Open
now.
June 1st. Get it early. Get in early.
So, again, I mentioned earlier in this program that I would give you some links to those documents and also our online application portal. So we have those right here. So you're more than welcome to copy these links and access those documents. So you don't even have to go looking on our website. They're right here. The guidelines, the LOI preview forms, our strategic framework, and our online application portal. These are the direct links to those portions of our website and our key documents. I want to thank you all for taking the time to listen to this presentation. And if you have any other questions, here are the 4 people, so the 3 directors of Impact Strategy and Andrea Porter, who I want to ask you to reach out to with additional questions. Again, please review the grant guidelines and then contact the appropriate director of Impact Strategy for the area that you are interested in applying under. And then again, Andrea is the contact for any questions related to our online application system or if you need help resetting your password. Thank you so much for your interest in our 2016 competitive grant application process. Be well. Thank you.
Thank you.